Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realists with 3 S's. I'm your host here, Chantele Francis, with on a special night, Jonathan. How are you tonight, Jonathan?
I'm good. A little disoriented. It's Thursday. What am I doing here?
It is kind of weird. Not gonna lie, the fact that I haven't seen you for 8 days instead of 7. It's a little odd, and just the content of our conversation is different than I'm used to.
Yeah, I'm used to kind of speculating who's going home and what's going to happen. And now we kind of are talking about more of a new week, kind of the conclusion of this week. So it's a little different. We'll see.
It's a very different.
Good episode though.
It was a good episode. Ooh, we have Beep Bean here. Hi, Beep Bean. Yes, let's do this. And if this is your first time here, please subscribe. Just join a part of the Reality Realist family. We love talking about reality TV, so we want to talk about it with you. So this episode, you thought it was a good episode. What did you like about it?
It just had a bunch of stuff in it. And I mean, I think it was kind of a foregone conclusion of who was going. We kind of, I wasn't expecting anything crazy happening with that. So it was just nice to have different elements to it. And we started off with, some interesting things that were happening in the house that wasn't really part of the game even.
That's true. That's what I like about the live feeds is you usually get to see that kind of stuff, just normal happenings that it doesn't really drive story necessarily that much. And so they don't usually include it in the episode. So it was nice to see a little bit of what really happens in the house. It's just as a live feeder and a nosy person, I like seeing that too.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you think of Kyland not trying to get himself taken off the block, even though it was him that said that he would be willing to go up against Sarah Beth? What did you think about all that?
Right from the beginning, I've always thought that Kyland, remember when he was HOH, I'm like, Kyland, you're not talking to these people like you need to be talking to them. And I have always felt that he's not the best with finessing, or maybe it's a realization, just reading the room or something. I don't know. Obviously, he shouldn't have done it. What's the point? And I think anytime you have a conversation with someone, you really need to assess, what can I say? What can I not say? And what is my goal? Even if it's a casual conversation with someone, you always should be playing. And you're like, what is my goal out of this conversation? Is it just to maintain my relationship? Is it to kind of get somewhere? Obviously, he would have thought oh, maybe I can get myself taken off. But then you really need to think of the bigger picture. So I don't really understand what he was doing, because it's going to come off the way that it did come off and rub people the wrong way. Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially since this has been the plan for a long time. He said, just put me up. And people are already being annoyed by him. And so it's just kind of read the room, Kyland. It might not be the best time for you to try to push your own agenda here and it looks like you're trying to save your person, which is, we get it. We get that you don't necessarily want your, extra +1 to go out for sure, but you already said that it was okay. And it just looks very self-serving, which is not, it's not a good look.
Not a good look. I mean, listen, if he had some realization and was like, you know what, I'm going to switch things around. It needs to be this, and went for it, fine. But that wasn't a kind of expressed to anyone or the audience or anything like that. So it just seemed like he was doing it just, haphazardly and selfishly and just really without much thought behind it. And, you and I are gamers. You need to have that thought. You need listen, if you're going to play us and we get played, we'll congratulate you because game well done. But when it's like that, it just seems kind of lazy, sloppy.
Yeah.
And it would rub me the wrong way. I'm like, you know what? If you're going to try to switch things up and fool me, go for it. Don't kind of half-ass it. Right. So.
Yeah, it was definitely not, it didn't come across well from the audience perspective, in my opinion, or in the house, which is kind of well, why are you bothering doing this? I think that this week with Sarah Beth on the block and him trying to sort of get himself taken off so he can give her a sympathy vote, weird, scenario, I think it's going to cost him from having people take him further to the end. I think that people will more likely want to vote him out.
Yeah, look at X, even Hannah, or Chada, last name as we call her, was Hannah was saying that she's X is all about loyalty, and it's yeah, if because he pushes that. When you seem a little dodgy like this and you don't have the game to back it up, it's gonna bite you sooner rather than later. So
People would be like, got my eye on you. Don't
yeah,
trust you anymore.
I do feel like when it gets down to the 6th that he will likely still be the first one targeted unless he wins HOH or something.
Also, I want to know, okay, what did you think about the conversation? So they're in the backyard and it's Alyssa, Claire, and Xavier. And Alyssa mentions to Claire, like, oh my God, like if Sarah Beth leaves, you're going to be the last white person in the house. And Xavier is kind of playing off like, oh, I didn't notice. I didn't see that. And then he has a little bit of a meltdown. That was longer than they showed. It was a good 2-3 minutes of him being like, why are you doing this? Like, oh, so like you shouldn't be talking and saying these things to Claire. And like he just went on for about, it seemed long, but about 3 minutes, maybe even 5 minutes. Like it was a long time that he was kind of ranting about it. What do you think about that whole scenario?
I mean, Alyssa doesn't know. So it's just happenstance that she was kind of saying and commenting about it. And even his little like rant or whatever it may be, even though I didn't see most of it, I guess. I mean, there's nothing else to do in the house other than just like talk out loud to you. I have a question. How do you feel about people like Tiffany did this in last night's episode as well? Just straight talking to the camera.
I'm fine with it. Well, because I'm a live feeder, right? So
No, I don't love it.
So this is the thing, though, when you're watching the live feeds and you want to see how they feel about a certain conversation, it's easier to understand what's going on without waiting for the show to show the diary rooms to see what they're feeling. And so
I like the commentary for sure. Like when someone leaves the room, you say something or whatever the case may be. But it's when they kind of like recap things directly to the camera, it just kind of feels like they think it's their own show. And I don't know, it's a little weird for me.
Specifically for the live feeders, they don't usually show that many instances of it on the actual television show, but it's pretty common for most
Tiffany
people.
does it a lot.
Everybody does it though, but they show Tiffany's. For sure. Like everybody does speak to the cameras. Like if you remember even last season, it bit him in the butt, but like Cliff did his Cliff Notes every morning, did his shout outs to all the live feeders and stuff like that. And so
I was a live feed watcher many years ago for many years as well. And they did it back then, but not everyone did it. And I was just, I've never kind of been a fan of it, but I was just like, oh, it's interesting. But I mean, yeah. So back to X in his little thing. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that it was maybe like there's nothing else to do, just complain about certain stuff and like make it bigger than it is, whatever. I didn't really take it as much of anything.
Bean says when they talk to the camera alone, it's like a cheap DR. LOL. Yes, exactly. Like I really like when they talk to. I'm like, okay, good. Okay, I understand where you're coming from here. Like, okay, like because when you're recapping what they're doing, you're like, well, I don't know if they feel this way or this way. So like you kind of have to do both sides of the coin. But when they talk to the cameras, you know what they're saying is most likely going to be honest. They're not going to lie directly to you. So it's helpful to decipher what is actually going on in the game when they talk to the cameras.
I'd be too afraid being caught. I'd be like, I'm going to say something and someone's going to walk in.
I was thinking about that. I was like, man, like how much would I talk to the live feeds? Like would I do like go out in the backyard in the mornings and have like a morning live feed chat, and just like let the live feeders know what I was talking about? Because I would feel like I would need to talk to them because I'm one of them. And I know that they really want to know what we're thinking.
I didn't realize, and I don't know if this has changed over the years, but TikTok, Sarah Beth was taking us through the Big Brother house, and she said that only 2 to 3 days they're allowed in the backyard a week. I don't ever remember it being that little, but I have noticed in the last like 10 years or so, there's less backyard than there has ever been before. So I don't know if it's just the competitions are grander that they're needing to, occupy the backyard more, or if it's ever changed and it was always only a few days. But that's what she said, 2 to 3 days.
I'm thinking that it may be because of COVID, so they don't have as many people constructing, backyard competition. So maybe it takes an extra day. And so then maybe they're losing out on a day. or 2, just from
Maybe.
like how long it takes. That's sort of the last couple years. I don't remember now from beforehand. I do remember like in the past, like they hung out in the backyard like all the time.
Yeah, and I liked it. And that's the thing that gets me with Big Brother Canada, is that there's really no backyard. There's a hot tub, tiny little area, and then the rest of it's studio. And I kind of hate that because it's earlier in the year and it's colder. So I get why. But yeah, I was like, there is less and less backyard. And especially this year, there's like really not much of it. And their seating is usually like pushed up against the far wall on the outside of the kitchen. And it's like aligned up there, and it's like in the middle, not in the middle, but just like it's far removed. It's like 10 feet out. And it's just weird. It doesn't feel like comfortable. Don't really love it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember when it changed, but I'm definitely thinking the last couple of years it must be different with those regulations and just not having as much staff on at the same time, and maybe not wanting people to go in the house as often too, like as crew. So like setting up things indoors. We haven't seen them do any like everybody hide in one room and like do some sort of time thing. We haven't seen, I don't think, in a while. Hide the veto. We haven't seen that one.
Hello.
Hi, Rylan.
Our nemesis is walking by, but
hallway nemesis. I'm gonna create a show. Dogs. They have these rivalries with their hallway people.
And it's like there's no rhyme or reason. It's this dog his size. He just does not like that dog for some reason. The dog's a sweetheart, but anyway.
Bad energy, I guess. Bad energy. Hi, Whitney. Thanks for being here. So talking directly to the cameras is unedited confessionals for the live feeds where we don't usually get them. Exactly. That's why we like them. Who's this? Jojo. Hi, Jojo. I mean, I don't know who won yet, Jojo.
Done already?
But I know who the last 2 people were before I came live. So I have an idea who won. I don't know if Jonathan will want to know this at the end of this or not.
I guess they were like, I don't care. But I guess it was like, why are we doing it? They probably threw it to someone, is what I'm assuming.
No, I didn't look like it. Like I watched it while I was like waiting for you to come on. Like I was watching.
These people can't stand on a rope and get some bubbles shot out at them.
Well, you saw like before the commercial, after the commercial break, that Big D was out. So
well, I mean he's a bigger guy, and we knew that was going to happen.
Oh, let us know when you want the spoilers. LOL. Yeah, we'll go through the episode and then we'll talk about the results of the head of household competition. If Jonathan's okay with it. Is there less backyard to avoid wall yellers?
So I was thinking that too, but then they allow them to have that second level this year where they have access to. And they
wall
do have
yellers and banner planes and stuff like that. That's a really good point, Bean. It's probably both. It's probably a combination of all those things. Because when did the first wall yeller happen? Like a while ago.
Yeah, early on.
Maybe they just kind of like shut it down a little bit so that people wouldn't like camp out and wait for them to be outside to be like, so la la la, you know?
Yeah.
Jojo's saying hi to Rylan.
He got a haircut, Jojo.
Jojo's in the chat. Yes, he is. Jojo, do you want to come on?
Rylan got a haircut.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to throw, but one of them, not going to say who, messed it up and went the full length.
Oh. Drum. Oh.
Okay, so yeah, we don't know, Sophie, why we're still having the 2-hour episode. We will talk about this shortly, for sure. Okay, so what else happened in this episode? So this was the fun part that you enjoy. Well, there was the real part of the episode where they're outside. So Chada and Big D are on the hammock, and Tiffany's on the ground, I believe, and a beetle. I mean, they had to have inserted that sound of the beetle because, like, I was like, that didn't sound like a beetle. But I don't know if I just don't know my beetle wing sound.
But it was big. Well. I mean, you could see it from afar. It was big.
But the sound of it didn't seem like it was legit from that, that insect. Yeah. So the beetle came around and Big D's scared of the beetle and he gets off of the hammock and the hammock kind of flips and Chada falls and hits her head on like the base of the hammock. Now, at the same time that this is happening, inside, Azza and Claire are making dinner for the house guests and it seems like Xavier put the oven on or left it on or something. He didn't turn something off. I'm not sure exactly what happened. Was saying
she was like roasting something in the beginning of it. She was like, "Oh, I'm putting this in the oven or something." I'm not quite sure. I don't cook. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, I saw that like Xavier did something, so maybe he turned it up to like royal or something, or like he wasn't monitoring it and he left because he hears the commotion outside. So while he hears the commotion outside, it was literally like a horror film. I thought we're watching like Final Destination when you're seeing like, you know, the impeding doom that's happening with the smoke that's starting here. They're just outside and like all of a sudden they open up the oven and there's flames of fire and they're taking care of Chaya and
not only do they open it up, but Claire's back is turned to it, and I'm like, "You're gonna catch on fire!"
God, stop, drop, and roll. You never thought that you're gonna eat it, but stop, drop, and roll. Yes, and so it was a lot of flames that were in there. I've never seen that many flames in a fire. There must have been, maybe it's really dirty. There's lots of grease on the bottom, but I've only seen fires that big on like below deck.
I don't know. I mean, I know that because of TikTok, Kristen's TikTok. I'm on TikTok. Watch, guys, I got you. But Kristen was talking about how much weight he had gained in the house because of all the cooking that X and
who gained weight?
Kristen had gained a lot of weight in the house because of X and Ozza, and I think it was Derek X had been all the cooking that they've done and whatnot. So. DF ejected Hannah.
Yes, just like that was bad though. It was like
hold up. I mean, Big D is a big guy. I mean, I've definitely like, you know, when you're on those like teeter totters when you're a child, we all have people we know that we've done it with that are maybe a little bigger. You know better than to like, you know, go on something like that with someone who is a little bit bigger and when they are like freaking out. I mean, she felt like she was asleep. It looked like she was asleep or something.
Well, and she's also like 5'1", like she's teeny tiny. And so like they are completely like very, very unbalanced there. And so
series
of course she's going to go falling.
Events for sure. That was a serious fire though. I don't know how it happens. I don't understand it. Don't cook. Yeah. Uber Eats doesn't catch on fire is all I have to say.
Maybe the bag does if you try to warm something up or something. Like
Final Destination.
I know. What would they do? Are they going to do if they burn down the Big Brother house? I mean, that would have been interesting. The game would be over. Would they still give the money? Like, what would they do?
Jury house is now the new Big Brother house.
That could be something. Change the game. At least they're going to do. So yes. So we'll talk about it after. So I thought that was an interesting segment because I knew that it happened. They shut down the feeds a little bit while the fire part was going on, and it was just like intermittent on and off, on and off, on and off. So it was actually very annoying that night at the fire because like they'd be on for 1 minute and then off for 5 minutes and then on for 2 minutes and then off for 10 minutes. So it was actually very annoying for the evening of the fire, but I'm happy that everybody's okay, of course. So the cookout. For the first time, all meets together in the washroom. Xavier was sleeping, but they wake up Xavier to go and do an all hands day and cook out on 3. Cook out.
He seems very enthusiastic about it.
No,
I'd be like, you wake me up just to get in the same room together. We have problems.
Would you? You'd get mad at me?
Yes, I'd be like, I'm sleeping. I need my beauty sleep. I'd be like, don't wake me up for this. Don't wake me up for this. No, but honestly, I'd be like the last person to bed every night. I'm a night owl, but beyond that, I would not want to have 5 people up socializing and me going to bed. I just don't think that's ever a good idea just as a whole. Like you always want to be the last person or one of the last people, especially when it's in a common area, right? You're missing out on a lot. So unless you're like not feeling well or whatever, fine. But no, I wouldn't be going to bed early.
I would never be going to bed early. I would never like. I already have like FOMO. Like even if I'm not doing anything, I could be at home and I'm like, I don't want to go to sleep yet. It's 4 a.m. I what if I miss something in life? And so like I don't like going to sleep because I'm like, I just want to stay up. Even though I love sleep, when I'm sleeping, I'm good. Like I love sleeping. I can sleep for forever, but I do not want to go to bed. I'm always the last one at a party, you know, that kind of.
It was a nice moment though. And it was nice to see them there. And they really are doing something that's important. And, you know, within our reality worlds, and just overall, it was nice to kind of see that and them to have a moment to really feel comfortable enough to celebrate that too. So, and I agree with them. I look forward to when you can, it's just them in the house and they're able to kind of
really play,
talk about it openly.
Yeah, and like I just want to see what happens, like who's gonna take the first shot. Ow! So a lot of game talk started to happen. Derek is talking to Xavier about the fact that he would put up Alyssa and Claire if he were to win. Xavier kind of already has like a bit of a final three with Kylan and DF. He also has a final three with Tiffany and Hannah. Who do you think would be better for Xavier to have his final three with?
Yeah, as they were saying it, I was kind of going through it, and I really feel like I feel like a lot of them are just kind of not really seeing the big picture. I think that if the most dangerous people to get to the end and take it against anyone is probably Tiffany and Xavier. So I think they have the most chances of winning, kind of no matter who they're up against. Once games explained and whatnot. I mean, if it was me and I was in the house, and I would absolutely take Derek and I would take Azza. So I mean, I'd be like, the Jokers, the remaining Jokers, I feel like they haven't really done anything, and so they haven't won really anything to position themselves, because it's it's a social game, absolutely, but not 100%. That's why there's competitions every week, so you have to ensure your safety through both the social aspect and the game and the competitions. And so they've only shown kind of one side to me, not even like so yeah, I would take those two, but I think that Tiffany and Xavier have the best chance kind of against anyone. It'd be interesting to see if they were up against each other in the final two, because I don't know.
I think Tiffany might pull it through for the fact that she's a woman, and there's more women that they were talking about this, more women in the jury. So I think that that's very beneficial.
Historically, and I don't know if it's changed, but I've heard a lot of talk in the past that historically, maybe this has changed. I think this has changed once. Like this happened like once or twice, but the majority of the time, when it's a guy up against a girl, the guy wins. But I do agree with you. I think Tiffany could absolutely change that. So
right now I'm feeling as though Tiffany can win against anybody, but X would be her hardest one. That's how I'm feeling. It could change and I could be wrong. But she has, if those are the final two, definitely has Derek X, right? So that's one. She would have Hannah for sure. She would have Claire for sure. And then two more. I'm sure she would have, Azza. Azza wants to get out Xavier, so I'm not sure how Azza would go. I think Derek F would vote out.
I don't know.
Vote for DF. I think Brittany, would vote for Tiffany. So that's 4. Sarah Beth, would she vote for Xavier, former king?
Probably. I think she would.
Think?
Yeah, I think she probably would.
I think Kylan might vote for Tiffany.
Yeah, maybe.
Depends on how things go down, though, obviously.
Yeah, how that plays out. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see kind of who really has a read on the house and knows who they need to bring in the end with them, and if they are able to do that. But if the rest of them are smart, they need to get out Tiffany and Xavier. And then
they do big time. But Tiffany knows this, and so she's like kind of guaranteeing that a lot of people want to at least bring her to final 3. So she knows that unless Chada's lying, but Chada wants to take her, potentially sit beside her. It seems as though Kylan, who she kind of made a final 2 now with, wants to take her. She's been talking to the other women, so Azza and Chada, to do final 3 all women. So she's kind of starting to cover all of her bases. And I don't know if they said it on the episode or not, but she wants Derek F out first, and then either Kylan or Xavier. So depending on how the cookies crumble, how everything happens that week.
Because Derek F would take the shot at her before anyone else, I think, right?
Absolutely. So. That, and I mean, I know that we all want to take him to the end to win, but I also would want to get him the F out because he's taking up a potential spot in the final two. So I would be taking him out at this point. I wouldn't want him to be going to the end at all. Get rid of him. So yeah, so Tiffany definitely wants to do a final two with Kylan, but she's saying that she would actually take Hannah. I don't know if you remember this, but like about a month and a half ago, they were having a conversation and they're talking about how epic would it be for the two of them to be sitting in the final two. So first time ever, 2 Black women final two and one for the first Black female winner. So that would be pretty epic on top of what is already happening in this season. So I can see them both really sticking to that and trying to make that happen. I do. So we see the jury house. What do you think of this segment? What do you think about Brittany and karate with the statue?
Brittany is too much for me. Like, and I feel like this was her downfall in the house. And it's not because she's not likable. She's just hard to connect with on a certain level because her energy is just like, is very intense. She's very nice, but it's very intense. And it's very like, she's just too much for me. And it was just like, and I'm sure it's, produced a bit.
Like even in the diary room, I'm like,
it's a lot. And I'm way more chill and monotone and just not that. And she's just like, da, 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 and I'm like, okay, calm down.
Yeah, just a bit much for me too.
But it did feel weird when Derek X joined her. It did seem odd that he was in the jury house. It just felt like, oh, you should still be in the game. Like he just seemed like a much not a better player, but just kind of like just someone who. So it was interesting. I've never had that before where I felt watching someone in the jury house, it felt like wrong. Like it felt like they should still be in the game because of how much of a player they were in the game. So it was interesting. Yeah.
And I totally agree. It did seem like he seemed out of place in the jury. Like he seems like the type that would have been the last juror. You know what I mean? Like, they finally couldn't get me. They got me. And like he'd be the last person joining the jury.
Especially because there was like the littlest information of him like given to him, and he was able to start piecing everything together finally. And I'm like, why couldn't you do this in the house a little bit more? You know what I mean?
Perspective and just having somebody else like comment, like having just talking freely and candidly and not, just being outside of it.
Like, it just felt like close, like you were close. And he's likable. I mean, and I think any other season he'd be a good one for an all-star season.
Yeah, he should be invited back for sure.
Yeah, I think he's someone who would learn certain lessons and realize that, if you're not in a big alliance, then there's definitely one going on. So
Whitney says, how would you even get Big D out at this point? Is there anyone he could sit next to that he would go home against? They would have to be deciding to take him out. And that's like the mission of the vote, not like who's the bigger threat. Like they have to be choosing to take him out.
That's a good point, though, because, some people might want to take the shot, but unless everyone's on board, he might be a really hard one to get out.
That's why you need to get him out.
I mean, I don't see the live feeds. From what I watch, I like him. I don't see the live feeds. I don't know what he's like. But he's very entertaining, and I know that a lot of people don't like him. But anyway.
He's definitely not my favorite. I think that I would like him in real life, but I'm not biggest fan of him, no. Hi, Phil. Thanks for joining us. So I love the season with the cookout. Yeah. There was an actual house fire.
They had a cookout indoors. They had a cookout indoors. But, it was true to form, right?
Yes. Hashtag cookout realness. Thank you, Phil.
With 3 S's.
With 3 S's. Good observation. So Derek X would not have been the last juror because he probably would have made final 2. True. But I could, like, if I were to see him be part of the jury, I would see him as like that role, like the Janelle being like, oh, sorry guys, they got me. They didn't want to take me to the end because I'd win, like that kind of vibe, The what's it called? The robbed goddess role would be a Derek X. Is Big Brother broken now since Tiff's +1 plan will be replicated over and over again? Well,
I
that
think
plan
it
is
will
not
be.
a new plan, though. That's the same plan as the brigade.
Yeah, but I think it's been laid out in a way where it's clear for people, and I do think it's going to be something that is, like a Nokomis backdoor, plan, like where it's like changed the game, and who knows, they might I mean, but if people are in realization of it, that is something that they can stop. Whereas a backdoor, I mean, I feel like that's harder to stop, especially earlier on. But cat. But it's yeah, when you realize like, oh, I have a +1, you can really like think about it. So the realization, who knows, might happen for future seasons where but I was thinking that too. I think people are gonna try that. We'll see.
But I think that people will catch on more quickly. You know what I mean? I don't know if they would be allow themselves to
I
be.
mean, and it requires really loyal people, like really loyal people. And I think this year, any other season, because this is so important to keep these people to like the six, the cookout together. I think that any other season, maybe a few personalities could be persuaded to like keep their +1, whereas this year it's different. So I think it's just the power of that, specifically this year with that particular plan, that makes it
Very effective.
special and effective, and yeah, right.
So, like you, Brittany did not think that Derek X was going to be next. She thought it was going to be maybe Alyssa or Sarah Beth. She really hoped it was going to be Kyland. And then she gets baby D, but he has his own conspiracy, which was pretty much bang on, except we didn't include Chada, which, like, if he looks at it, he'd be like, wait, oh my gosh, I was the Chada +1. And then if they looked at, oh, Big D, Brittany, you were Big D's +1, like, or Big D and Ozza, they kind of shared Brittany. So, and just like, who were you sitting beside when
That's what I'm saying. Just look at
evicted?
who you were sitting beside when you went home. You know what I mean? Like, that's all you have to do. And then you're like, oh, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, it would have been a little bit harder for Derek X because he was sitting beside Claire, but if Tiffany is Claire's person, she's not going to necessarily let her go home, or it's going to be one of the two of them. So,
can we, speaking of Claire, I just wanted to bring this up, and it's, I don't want to be mean. I just want to like take a moment and like, the show's doing her dirty. Everyone else looks so wonderful in the DR and everything else. And Claire's like, hair is like this. I'm like, she's the only person who hair is not done. Her like everything, like skin every week, like it's just getting. I'm like, she's looking rough. I'm like, is it that stress? But everyone else looks fantastic. So I'm like, what are they doing to you, Claire? Are you noticing that, or am I going crazy? Like,
I mean, I definitely find
like her hair and everything. It's not just I was like, what's going on? Are they doing your DRs like at 9 a.m. and everyone else is like well into the evening, or what? But
I don't know exactly when she does her DRs, but she doesn't ever look polished when she does her DRs. Maybe she only really gets done up when she's on the block and on eviction night, because those are the only times that I've noticed that she's looked pretty good, Aw, poor Claire. Claire, what do you think about the fact that she didn't do anything new with the nominations?
I mean, yeah, like our hopes of a 2.0 Janelle is just not fizzled. It's just there's no realization, and that's beyond Janelle being, able to do so much and have that. It's that like the fact that when she's on the show, Janelle, it's almost like she's watching the show at the same time as us, because she just figures so much out at the same time, and having those realizations, and then willing to really go for it and make those moves and do what she has to do without and just Claire doesn't have any of that. So, and I feel like she's so capable. She's just like sitting there and letting things happen. And when you're being put on the block, like, who said this? Where did I see this? When you're on the block like 2 weeks in a row, you need to like change. Maybe you were saying this. Maybe I was watching yesterday's show.
Yeah, I think I was saying this, to be fair.
This reality realness I was watching with 3 S's. But no, and so I agree with you then. I'm like, when you like, yes, it was you. When you, why that Chantele has once said that if you are finding yourself on the block, something needs to be changed and something you need to do something about it. So keeping this exact same thing happening is not doing something about it.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I'm so sad. I mean, I think that the problem with Claire's game is that it's been so interlocked with Tiffany's game, and she really doesn't realize that Tiffany's playing another game that she's not a part of. And so she feels that what's best for Tiffany is best for her, and that she doesn't want to necessarily go against that because like they've been doing so well together, it seems. But like I said, and like you just reiterated, she's doing something different because Tiffany has not touched the block and she has touched it twice in a row. So
yeah, and
something.
she's a big like, isn't she a big fan and a big gamer, like
Yeah.
player too? And like you would think this, like you are a individual. It's an individual game, so you need to think separately from that. And sometimes your number one or your final two. Listen, we've talked about this before. We've played games like online games versions of these kind of things, and sometimes you need to cut those that are closest to you to get further. That's part of the game, and you have to think down your own lane. So
yeah, Jojo, I should have cut you and taken Jonathan so I could have won.
You would have won. Yeah.
Oh my god, but like we wouldn't be friends, I don't think. I think that would have been really bad. I would never have done that just because I said that I wasn't going to do that, but imagine.
I would.
I know you would.
Cut everybody.
Okay, Eddie says Sarabeth should have been saved and either Z or Kylan should have been sent packing. Well, that's just not really in the cards right now. The main objective for the cookout is to get to the 6, and they're not really allowing anything else to distract them from that plan. They're being 100% solid to it. Xavier and Kylan should have been gone a long time ago. Like, you shouldn't allow these guys to win 2, 3, 4, 5 competitions. Like, no, they got to be clipped. But the fact that they are in the cookout is why, like, all the men would have been gone if it wasn't for the cookout. Like, I think it would have been.
But I also agree. Like, Sarabeth's not really likable, even self-admittedly so, in the house overall. So it's kind of like, I didn't mind her, but whatever. And so it's kind of like, yeah, would you keep something like that, someone like that, to the end because you can beat them? Absolutely. But that's not this season. That's not what we're doing.
Nope. Big Brother has been broken for a long time. Get all the comp beasts together and ride till the mid or end game. That's true. When comps started being more physical and predictable, the game became breakable. Yep, it's true. But then also, though, in Big Brother Canada, Kevin Martin broke the game by knowing how to study and winning all those, head games at the end where it's all about like days and, what order of competitions and whatnot. So Kevin Martin also broke the mental games as well. So I don't know what they're going to do because I really don't enjoy the physical competitions. Like, I don't want there to be a comp beast on Big Brother. Yeah. I'll take comp beast on the challenge. I don't want a comp beast on Big Brother.
Yeah. And so I was rewatching season 3. Don't ask. Season 3 today a little bit, and you see the casting. I'm a casting director, for those who don't know, is completely different. Mm-hmm. It's more your everyday average people, and it's not like these really athletic types.
Jocks with abs.
Yeah, it's people who are like just outspoken and maybe don't know how to play the game. And, it was a newer game, so people were still figuring it out. But at the same time, there were people who were so caught up in emotions and willing to just go off because they didn't care necessarily 100% of the game. So I hate to say it, but fans are the ones applying and whatnot, in large masses, I'm sure. But it's the more athletic types I think you need to steer away from. It's the fans that you need to kind of steer away from because they have a better understanding of the game.
Well,
and if you've got
I'd say new fans.
New fans, yes.
Like, fans that are like, I've only watched like the last 4 seasons, but like I love it.
Because it's just a very different dynamic. Go back, watch the original several seasons, and it's a really different dynamic. And I do think it comes down to casting and the type of people who are on the show.
I mean, I'm such an old school fan that I wish that all the new school players watch some of these old seasons. Like, people thinking going back to 16, like, oh my God, Derek. Like, I'm like, he's not even my favorite winner. Like, come on, let's go. Like, go way back. I would love for people to do some rewatches of like season 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up to 8 are more of my favorite seasons than after season 8. And so I wish that people would go back and watch those seasons.
I watch old clips all the time. Like I was literally watching Danielle popping off on what's his face not washing his hands when he comes out of the washroom, and I was like, oh yeah, I miss these seasons. Because it was just, and Lori, I think her name was like,
the blonde girl,
freaking out over it, and she was just say something to his face, and I was like, oh, this is so good. I hate everyone liking each other.
Well, I think everybody's very polite. It's very like polished, and like there was a rawness about it in the older seasons. It was just like a little bit messier, a little bit less like put together, and I kind of like that rawness about it. And I think that's probably why I enjoy the live feeds more, because like there's no the polishness. I'm kind of like, I don't want the polishness.
Bring back Celebrity Big Brother, because the egos on there that you're bringing together overrides and trumps the polish that they're willing to put on, because they're just not used to being treated a certain way.
Claire's hair is hard to manage in general, though. Look at JoJo just standing up for Claire.
I don't know anything about it. I'm just as a viewer, I'm noticing she's like really.
She pissed the wrong gay producer off, potentially. Like, let's get Claire down here. Yes. Oh, maybe. No, she's probably stressed out, but she doesn't even realize that she's stressed out.
It's what I mean. Listen, I'm not saying anyone needs to put makeup on or anyone needs to do any of that. No, I'm just saying it's noticeably like they wake her up at like 6 a.m. to get those DRs and everyone else is rested, their hair's combed, whatever.
So Phil says Tiffany is playing chess, Claire is playing checkers, Brittany was playing Tiddlywinks. Badly.
Tiddlywinks?
I remember the name of them, but I don't remember how to play. Like what?
But I would play Tiddlywinks with I'm like apparently 100 years old as well.
We would still be friends? No, we would. You would be so mad at me. Hi, Kitchi. She had 2 weeks of safety and never did anything with that either. That's true. She should have been using that 2 weeks of safety to like put in plans and get people to protect her and make final 2s. Like she should have used the time where she was super free and like didn't have to worry about everything that she said that's going to like, she could end up on the block, to really make some solid alliances. And she didn't take that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Oh, Claire. And I'd be honored to be cut by Jonathan. You'd have been cut by me, and it would have been Jonathan that would be taking.
Having said that, I saved both of you. But anyway, I cut you so fast.
Oh, Jesus. I'd be so sad.
No, we had a plan going in. You guys were supposed to make it to the end. It's what should have been done, yes.
He's so sad if you cut me. Oh, I would be hurt. Like if I didn't know it was going to happen. Okay, so remind me if I ever play an org with Chantele to team up with her. You need to be told that.
Yeah, Chantele and JoJo are pretty kick ass. Like they will win comps when comps are needed, and the social game's on point for sure.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Dangerous duo, those two.
I think what's good about both JoJo and I is that we're fun to play with. You know what I mean? Like
and committed and like and like everything's well thought out and you put the effort and time into it and stuff that Claire should be doing.
We've done more effort in our like for no money like online game that we played. We put in more effort than Claire has done for $750,000. Like you've already said it many times. You would sell your mom out for $750,000, probably for less. I'm assuming as well.
$750.
BB bucks.
BB bucks, yeah.
But like, come on, Claire. Like, we would do a lot more for a lot less. So the fact that she's like really doing the bare minimum, it's just like
it's disappointing.
So bad. Tiddlywinks. Okay, so funny when Claire said, "I need to make some big moves" right in the middle of her secret head of household. Right? It's like, oh, she's like, well, if I win the veto, then I'm going to make a big move, and then doesn't win the veto. It's just like, oh, Claire. Boo. But it looks like, Ika should have won in truth.
Oh, Ika. So good.
I love Ica, but I don't know if she played the end game that well. You know what I mean? So
Ica and those checks. Oh man, it's great.
season 2, yes, old school exactly is the way to be.
June just cooked for everybody. Yeah, she's like,
America doesn't have the stomach for BB anymore. Do you think that's what's happening? Or the producers or the audience?
I think it's casting, guys.
Casting. It's the network casting what they think we want. They don't get it. They're not fans of the show. They're not fans of the game.
It's honestly more Tiffany's. Like and I don't mean like specifically like just someone who seems willing to put they're all into a game, but at the same time seems more of a average everyday person, and they're not going to make a sweep of certain competitions or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just it's kind of more of that reminds me of like some of the old school stuff, which we need to bring back.
Well, Whitney's saying something that I totally agree with here. They are really having the nerve to be showing them BB16 in Sequester, like 17's right there. Exactly, like 17's a way better season, or like at least interesting things are happening. We have all the strategy from Vanessa. Like we're seeing a different type of game play and maneuvering, and I think that Vanessa is a way better game player than like Derek was.
Yeah, and Vanessa's another one. Like I do think Vanessa is in the right stream of like who you should be casting. Yeah, absolutely.
Jerry's hands watch drama. Say it to his mouth. Jerry's that. Okay, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, he didn't wash his stinking hands.
And then making the salad. Yeah, remember that?
Danielle. And then Marcellus and Tanya fight. Oh my God, yes. Like the stuff that would never happen anymore. She gives production nothing too. Which one's she? Who are we talking about now?
Claire still?
Probably Claire.
Claire doesn't do anything.
Yes, girl, gives us nothing. Yeah, she's like, she gives us like hope that she's gonna do something, but we know that she already hasn't done anything. It's like, oh, like finally got some agency in this game. I'm gonna shake things up and do exactly the same thing that.
Let me ask you a question. Would you be interested in seeing Claire play in like an All-Stars, like come back and be given another opportunity? Do you think she would do something different and maybe live up, or do you think she'd do more of the same?
I think that she would learn from her mistakes. So I believe that she runs like a Survivor on her college campus type thing. And so she knows the game. She understands the strategy around it. I think, as I said already, that she kind of got like linked in with Tiffany and having just their strategy talks, that she stopped playing for herself. I think that once she realized what she was up against, and like after she has some reflection, she'd be like, man, I really played that badly. And I could see her wanting to come back for a redemption arc. And so I would support Claire coming back, because she really was up against a big machine. And I don't think she realized how in danger she actually is or has been for these last few weeks. And when she watches it back and realizes how clueless she was, or some of the inklings that she had that she kind of pushed aside, she might be like, oh my God, I should have acted on that instinct. Oh my God, I should have changed that when I felt that like maybe I should do something for myself. I think that she would be a little bit more of a self-serving player if she were to play again.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Better. Getting a second chance?
Yeah.
When he says specifically I think the issue with showing 16 instead of 17 is that it shows all the benefits of sticking together. I know, it's true. When what we want is for people to be super open to betraying their alliance. Absolutely. That's why this season won't be great if they show it, because as much as I love the cookout, I think that they're doing something awesome. It's going to show that like we need to have a solid, stable alliance, and we need to just like bulldoze through the game. Yeah. And it works. Like we played games where that's worked. Like it works. It's very effective. And so
it's just not entertaining to watch necessarily.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Exactly. No more Claire. No. Oh, jeez. Oh my God. Okay. Bring back Tiffany. Yes. I would love Tiffany to come back.
Yeah. Tiffany would come back if she didn't win. Yeah.
Yes. You in danger, girl. Girl lives in the Upper East Side. Ooh. I don't know if she was born there though. So I think she's born in like Midwest. and I think she lives there now because apparently she's telling Derek X this, and she's like, well, I don't want to mention that because I wouldn't want people to think that like I have a lot of money. So bring back Tiffany after she wins. Yes, have her come back to defend her title,
like
her
a
crown.
Sandra Diaz of the Big Brother worlds, you know.
She could be. I would. Would you work with Tiffany? Is she be a type of player that you would work with?
You know it. 100.
I know, of course, she's the best.
100%. I'd be like, I see you, but we're gonna do this together. And like,
she's the exact type of player that I would be wanting to play with. You know what I mean? Like someone that's going to be playing hard. Someone's going to be thinking about every single angle. Someone that, and I can work with people like that because even if, you know, you might be sketched out, like, oh, they might be having other things going on. You know that they probably do. So like you can account for any other things that they're going to do. Instead of these people that are like kind of wishy-washy, you don't know where they're at. You don't know what they're going to do. They don't know how to play the game. So they could just do something stupid. I like that you can gauge what she's doing, and she's also loyal and she's smart and she's fun to strategize with. So
yeah, and you should be doing that on your own too, for your own self. Like on the, you know, just, you know, not just sit there and let it happen. But I would totally work with Tiffany because I definitely think her and I together could
run things.
Absolutely. So
absolutely. So back to the episode. Who cares about this episode, right? So Sarah Beth is doing her final plea. I thought she did a decent final plea with her saying like, if you look back and this is going to be the moment where you said like I should have done something, like take that opportunity to change your vote right now. It's not too late. I thought that was interesting, but it was actually way too late for her to be making that pitch. She should have started making that pitch like a month ago and made better relationships with people and not take out Derek X because Island told her to do so.
That was her mistake right there. Was when she was HOH, she messed it all up and kind of ensured that she was going to go home this week. Exactly. She should have done that, yeah.
So
Derek could have been like a weapon for you to really.
Derek wasn't coming for her.
No, I know. Yeah, like you said it. And so she was, you know, dead man walking kind of a thing.
Silly. So Kylan has his shout outs and I didn't even really write down what he said, but I thought it was funny that he mentioned like not like the one-on-ones that tend to be too long. So at least he knows that he will sit and talk to people for like 6 hours at a time, and it's very annoying. Is that Ryland?
Yeah, Ryland's attention right now.
I know. It's like just 5 more minutes, Ryland, and you can have them all to yourself. I promise. So Kylan did start though with "but first," and Julie corrects him, saying that "but first" is copywritten, which I thought was kind of.
You think he did that on purpose? I couldn't tell.
I'd have to go back and watch.
I went back a few times and I was like, it seemed natural. So who knows? But it was cute. Yeah,
it was cute for sure. So then they go to vote. The one that was interesting was Derek F. I know that people are mentioning that he might have some sort of aphasia, so like he mixes up things and puts things in different orders, or some form of dyslexia or whatnot. But he did
only
say
time it comes up in the Big Brother house is when he's voting, right? Like, does he misspeak at any other times? I haven't seen.
I haven't seen it online. I've seen a couple of videos, like TikToks, where he couldn't say like rubbing alcohol or something. Like he couldn't say something. He kept on mixing up the letters. But I actually think, though, if he just took some time and like just thought it through, that he'd be fine. But he just wants to be kind of fast at it. But he says, I gladly to vote Sarah Beth. And I'm just like, practice it. I mean, I guess he doesn't know that he's making a mistake.
I don't know. Can they say? I feel like they absolutely should and can and probably should say something to him like, oh, by the way, you're saying it like this. It needs to be said like this. Like, let's have a trial run. And maybe they do trial runs and maybe he can't do it because he's too nervous or I don't know. And with his dyslexia, I'm not dyslexic. I don't know how. I'm sure there's varying levels of it, but I don't know how it's represented. So I feel bad because I don't want to say anything. But at the same time, it's like, it's surprising that it's not addressed, because it could be a moment that the show uses to say,
as a teaching
hey,
moment.
this is Derek can't say it, and this is why, and they can talk to, like, I mean, he can talk about it in the DR. You know, yes, it's been brought to my attention that I don't, you know, I say this or whatever, and that's because of what I have. So I mean, it's a missed opportunity for, you know, to show America like different, you know, what do you call it, disabilities, or, you know, so yeah, I mean, I feel like they should talk about it.
Yeah,
And not,
instead of like just avoiding it, and like even Julie once was like she was thrown off with like, wait, so you vote, like she repeated it what he
yeah,
meant to say, and so I thought that when she repeated back what he should have said, that the next week he would have fixed it and like realized that, oh, I said something like out of order and not correct, to have been corrected by Julie. So I don't know why. Like, I guess they tend to not talk about the issues that go on. If someone's saying something off color, offside, or
it's
you know,
like,
racist, or about Ian last season, they don't show it. They just block the feeds. Talk to them maybe in the diary room, maybe,
but it's
and
like,
we never hear anything about it.
Ryland's gonna knock over my computer, but it's not controversial. It's just like, it's a shame, because it's making him seem to America and beyond that, you know, like it's almost like a joke now for a lot of people, and it I feel like it should be addressed, because it's it's, you know, something that I don't think is doing it on purpose. It's something that he can't help, and it's yeah, I mean, I don't know why they're avoiding that.
Because it's very obvious. So Whitney says, I honestly think that Sarah Beth's big mistake had nothing to do with her head of household. She was way too vocal about going for Hannah, and that put her on the radar of most influential player, Hannah, Tiffany, and Derek X, and Xavier. Yeah.
I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying, like, her last ditch effort of where it completely went, like, no turning back, was her HOH.
Absolutely.
And so, like, unless she won veto this week, like, the last ditch effort was, I mean, that was your last point of you potentially prolonging and changing the game, and it just shouldn't do any of the right things with it. So
yeah, like if she hadn't have done that, she would have been in the house this week, most likely. If she hadn't have gone so hard for Hannah, and she probably, then the dominoes for that, she wouldn't have been in a bad situation, and things would have played out completely differently. I do think, Whitney, that you're right, that is the inciting incident where like things started to go bad for her. And then I also agree with you, Jonathan, that the most recent event that was the point of no return was that HOH. Like, people they're already not on board with you. So now you're taking out Hannah's person, like Hannah, who you've been coming for, and like you were like would throw away your game, it seemed, for to get rid of. And like then you take out her person, like it's a little bit just desserts, right?
yeah.
I mean, she's not going to stay through that. So Tiffany does give a sympathy vote. They did decide this and plan this earlier on the day, so we knew that was going to be happening. And Sarah Beth,
why are they letting her get away with that? Like, that's like,
she didn't want to. She was asked to
give her a sympathy vote.
Yeah, I think either Kylan asked her to do it or whatnot, or something.
That's crazy to me, because it's just making her seem better for, like, the most dangerous players seem better for, like, it's like jury management. It's just like, it's a weird.
It wasn't her idea.
It's so weird. It's a gift.
But I know. She's lucky. She's probably like this. That's why she whispered, like, "I gave you that vote."
Yeah.
Like, just so you know.
Remember. I'm gonna bring it up again at the end when I'm in the final two. So remember.
So Sarah Beth is evicted, but I thought it was hilarious. It was another very real moment that was awesome. Was Oz's picture, I think, also went black and white, and so it freaked everybody out, and they're kind of having like a freak out moment. So I loved seeing that reaction, which was super real. It was
That's
awesome.
like one. I just wish, like, I've worked in, you know, camera 1 to camera 2, like camera 2 ready. I've, you know what I mean, behind the scenes a little bit. Why was it just the one camera?
I was so annoyed.
I was like so annoyed. I'm like, I want to see all of their reactions, and maybe they'll recap it, maybe, and like you'll see it again, hopefully. But yeah, that was like the best moment of the episode. So
I know, and I'm like,
like,
you know, you're just like looking, you're just trying to like go around the side because you want to see what's happening.
Show me a different angle. Show me a different angle. If you have 100 cameras in the house or whatever it is,
you're showing me like their shoulder. Like, give me a better shot. Like I can line up better
Ready,
shots with my
camera,
iPhone.
3, go. Like, it's, come on.
Or it's
now.
probably just like a, you know what I mean? Like with a little switch. Not even difficult. So outside of when she's talking to Julie, she said that she doesn't have any regrets. Really, she thinks that she still thinks that the move was to get rid of Derek X, even though she shouldn't have. And Kylan, in his exit press, I guess we'll say, he mentions again that there was an alliance that was going on, and Azza alluded to something going on as well. So the cookout made a pact that they were not going to say anything in the diary room messages. So what do you think about the fact that definitely Kylan now 2 weeks in a row has said that he has, he outed this, and Azza kind of alluded to it. What do you think?
Azza was more like, that's like more on the fence. Like it's definitely like hinting towards something debatable. Like, but yeah, I think, the fact that he did it is the same reason why he's probably going to be the first one out. It's so like, it's that disconnect with the rest of the group that has put him in that position is also why he's tipping these other people off. So yeah, I think it's just a representation of his placement within the cookout.
It's so bad. And so this is also, though, like, as soon as some of the cookout members go to the jury and find out that he said these things in his diary room, like if he gets to the final 2, they're going to be pissed and they're not going to vote for him. So I don't know, especially because they made this pact. If they didn't make the pact, whatever, free for all, to use your information as you want to. But they all said that they were not going to tell anybody in their goodbye messages about the cookout. And so he tells them about the cookout without saying the name. We've been a secret alliance since day 1. Not good. Kylan, that's sloppy. So Claire, though, does reveal that she's a secret head of household. Sarah Beth had pretty much thought it was going to either Tiffany or Claire, because why would they keep the nominations the same, right? And that's pretty much it for the episode. Yeah, so basically it's the cookout versus Alyssa for this new head of household competition. They're all going to be standing on disc, swinging around. It's a circus theme, hitting into bubbles. Is bubbles the name of the elephant, or was it actually just the bubbles?
I don't know, but I'm with Claire. It's like, this is so nearsighted. It's like, first of all, circuses in general, because of their treatments, the notorious treatments of animals and whatnot. And I'm a big animal lover and supporter, and Ryland's crate-free, collar-free, anyway, whatever. But it's like, yeah, elephants and the mistreatment of animals in the circus is a big thing, especially in like the last several years as well. Have the theme, fine, but then to have like an elephant there, and I love elephants, one of my favorite animals, but have an elephant there with shooting bubbles out of its butt, I was like, they've missed the mark on this, producers, and I don't know, it was a little like upsetting. I was like, this is ignorant. I think I'm not for it. I know it's lighter and people don't think of it, but you have to think of it, because there's mistreatment of animals out there, and point blank, it just needs to stop. And putting images like this for people, it's not like, a film will historically show you something if it's like takes place in 1940s or something, and there's like elephants at the circus, who cares? But this is like different. And you could have had a big clown. You could have had with shooting bubbles out of his nose. I mean, there was no reason for it. So I just had to say that. Secondly, when Derek fell off during the commercial break, and then he came back and he was like,
well, because on the feeds, he's like, just let me win. Like, I'll take this one. I'll put up Alyssa and Claire. Like, just let me or Azza win, but let me win, because Azza doesn't really want to win it. And so...
Let you win? You couldn't even stay on for 2 minutes.
Well, I mean, he obviously didn't know what the competition was going to actually be. But and that does go in alignment with what you're saying, is that they're not really making all the competition super fair for all body types and sizes.
Last week as well, the HOH this week and last week are both athletic HOHs, which is shocking that moments later we then saw Alyssa. Was she throwing up?
I didn't.
She stepped off, and then she went to the side and bent over like this,
Oh,
and
maybe.
then who was off? Who was off? X was off.
So the people, do you want to hear? So the people that I saw before I
Someone
came
went beside her and like was like making sure that she was okay. I guess it was Derek.
it would have had to been Derek.
Yeah. So I think she was either really upset that happened, but it seemed like she stepped off, is what it seemed like. It looked to me like she was throwing up.
I didn't actually see that happen, so I don't know if I just blinked or thought that the competition that they were going to stay on for longer, and I didn't
I had to rewind a few times just so because it was like shows you very quickly, but yeah.
So from what I saw before I came live with you was obviously Big D fell, Alyssa fell, Claire fell, Chada fell, and Xavier fell. So the people that were still hanging on was Tiffany and Kyland when we came live. So it was pretty quick. Like they didn't stay on for very long at all. So do we? Oh, okay. So Jojo said that Alyssa fainted supposedly.
I saw her step off, so maybe she got
blacked out and dizzy,
lightheaded or something. Weird. Yeah.
Well, I mean, she does seem to have. Remember the first night she got really sick, so maybe with stress, maybe the spinning, maybe she has like some sort of vertigo or something that she like can't take some of these competitions with stress. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, listen, chronic illness. I hear you. It affects you many different ways. I get it.
So is Kai uncomfortable around the cookout members? I don't think so. I think Kai just is not as socially aware as he thinks he is. I think that he thinks that he's really good with everybody. I think he thinks that he's slick. I think he thinks he's a really good player. And I don't think that he has any idea that people are coming for him or what he's done with telling Derek X is wrong. Like, I don't think he gets it.
He doesn't have his like finger on the pulse kind of thing, but at the same time, he's hard to read for me. So I don't know. I don't know if he thinks I'm like, is he just socially awkward a little bit, or does he?
A little bit socially awkward.
Does he
like maybe on the spectrum a little bit? Like I think that he's just a little bit doesn't pick up some social cues.
Maybe
from what I've seen, anyways. All right, BB wants to know if Derek F was in the final two, what argument could be he used to sway jurors? He could say that
he sat there and he's in the final two. Is what he could say. He's like, look, you saw me. I was laying down sleeping and 1-0, and I still made it to the final two. So
he could say that he was always part of the plan to be put up as a nominee because he knew of where his place was in the game. And so he used that to build trust with the people that were head of household, that you're willing to like do that and support them.
Yeah. And you can just say things like, you didn't have to win anything because your social game was so on point. And people can't really argue that because, I mean, if you didn't win anything and you make it, it is your social game. It's it is. I mean, for him, it's because everyone's like, well, it's kind of who he is that, he's so beatable, but it's like, is he beatable? I don't know. I've seen people get to the final two before and they win because
he's not winning.
No, I don't.
He's can't win against anybody. Like not one person.
I mean,
maybe Ozza.
Brittany, I think would go for him. Ozza, maybe, yeah.
No, he could win against Ozza, maybe. But there's more women in the cookout. And if Tiffany's in the jury, whomever Tiffany wants to win, I think she would convince to have them win. So Whitney says, I think that it's less that Kai is uncomfortable near the cookout and more that he's most comfortable around the queer house guests. Okay, that's potential. He spends so much of his time with them that he has no relationship. That makes sense, actually, because he does identify as pan, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe he is more comfortable with the queer house guests. That makes sense to me.
There you go.
That is interesting. So the last thing to talk about was what was teased by Miss Julie, who looked beautiful, by the way. I love her in a ponytail. She has a great ponytail, like head shake, and it just kind of bouncy. Like I like it. So Julie says that next week is going to be Zingbot for the veto, which I'm excited about. So I wonder what the Zingbot's going to say. And then also it's going to be two double.
Can I just say, if Zingbot with Derek, it's going to say something about him being asleep. I guarantee you.
Daybed. Yeah.
Yeah, something for sure.
Of course. We should write some zings and see if we can get the
Better
zings
ones,
right.
or like what it's going to be. Yeah, preemptively guess. Sure.
Yeah, for sure. So, and then it's going to be 2 double evictions in a row. So we still don't know how they're going to fill that 2 hour on the 16th. But 2 double evictions, I like that better for the fact that we were worried about that whole the 6 to 5 to 4 being just all wiped out in one night. Yeah, it might be exciting, but I want to see if Tiffany is nominated. I want to see her have 1 week to like try to get herself off the block. I don't want to see people just like, ooh, it's my perfect opportunity to get her out and not have her have a chance to win. So I really hope that, like with 2 doubles, it's easier to manage that, you know?
Yeah, I think just crazy things can happen when everything's done in like an hour. So I enjoy a good double with
I like a double.
like things being mixed up. So who knows?
Double's fine. Triple, not fine.
I don't like seeing them panic, like they run back in the house and they talk to each other really fast. And I just like seeing a little pressure, you know, especially this season when everything's kind of worked out to how it was set in the beginning. So it's like I want to see them like some people sweat finally, and yeah.
Me too. I do want to see the double. Double will be fun. Could Derek F identify each double cross committed against each juror to make them mad? I don't think Big D knows what's actually been going on in the game. He thinks that he's ran the whole season. Like, he literally thinks that he's the best player in the game right now.
Yeah.
He thinks that people will take him out because he's such a big threat. Like he doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah, I don't know that he's super aware and able to make all the points in a speech that would garner votes and realizations of people to sway them. I don't think that'll happen.
Me neither. Well, that's pretty much everything that happened in this episode, and a nice little catch up with you, Jonathan. Anything else that we missed that you want to talk about?
No, we got there. We got there. We got it all. We got the real life cookout. We got the them doing Claire dirty in the diary rooms. We spoke about animal rights with the circus. Okay.
It's funny that you were talking about that today because I'm in a writing class, or this was my last class today, and one of the people in my group, she was writing about the circus, and we were talking about the element of like, well, PETA and like, animal rights and all that stuff. And so she's actually very aware about it. And she was talking about like, well, in her script, she really wanted to respect the animals by like having them have their actual names and this and that. And like, she would go through a full on process for it to be like, if they were to use real animals, like it would be done in a way that really,
they just do what they want
respected
on set.
Them.
Crate free, collar free.
Yeah, right. No masks.
No, and he misbehaves a lot. But you know what? He's a dog, and so what? Doesn't hurt anybody.
Well, thanks, Kitchi, for being here. We'll see you next week. Can I talk? No, I don't think I can talk. And Bean, thank you also for being here. Whitney, thank you. Jojo, Phil, Sophie, Natalie, of course, Jonathan. Thanks for being here. If I forgot you in the chat, I do still love you. I just mistakenly forgot your name. But if you haven't done so already, please just do us a big favor, subscribe, be part of the party, be part of the fun, be part of the 3 S's, and leave a comment on this video about whether or not, oh wait, we didn't mention who won. Did you want to know who won Head of Household?
Oh yeah, I do actually. Yeah, tell me.
Tell me. I'm guessing though. I think it was, if I read correctly, it was Tiffany that won this Head of Household. Am I right in the chat before we actually sign off?
Basically 2 HOHs in a row.
I mean, I don't know they just really didn't want Kylan to be at Head of Household again. They're just like, anything but Kylan. We don't want to do those one-on-one meetings. We don't want to hear him talk.
That would be more interesting to watch, though.
Yeah,
Kylan, okay. Yeah, it'd be interesting. It was Tiffany.
It was Tiffany, Queen Tiffany. Yes. Jojo was saying bye, Rylan, not Kylan.
That means bye, Alyssa?
Bye, Alyssa. unless
Claire's not
like I
going
think
anywhere.
she'll put up Xavier and Alyssa. If the veto is won,
You think she's gonna send Claire home on her HOH?
I mean, that's savage. I don't know if she could.
I don't know. That could be interesting little twist. She might be like, let's just get rid of. She might try the let's get rid of Derek F and then get rid of Claire.
Now,
Yeah,
get rid of Derek F now. Who cares?
that might be an interesting little situation there. Okay.
So that's. I mean, I think that what would be like my dream scenario? Oh no! So like, if Claire for say won it, she wouldn't use it on Alyssa, which is what I would want her to do, just to like know that she's in danger. But it's Tiffany's head of household. She's not going to change the nomination. So,
but
Claire, do
yeah,
something.
Exactly.
Well,
but it'd be interesting if Alyssa wins veto, what will happen? So, I mean, that's why if I was Tiffany, I would have thrown this. I'm like, that situation could have happened and you don't need to win this.
Well, Tiffany and Xavier both didn't want to win this, and it was supposed to be Azza or Derek F that won. They didn't necessarily want Kylan to win. So when it was Kylan and Tiffany, I think that she just really didn't. Nobody wanted to have Kylan have a third head of household, and just like they just really were so against that. So
yeah,
I think they're just like she's just didn't want that to happen more than she was worried about having to send Claire home. She better not send Claire home. I mean, that would be,
that's a mistake. That would be a mistake for her.
Hi, Joseph. I'm surprised it was Kylan versus Tiffany. I know it was like, I was like, I wanted Ozzy to stay in there, and she kind of like, she was doing really well, and then she ended up falling, and they should have, because Kylan didn't fall. Kylan should have fallen and then let Ozzy have it, because Ozzy wouldn't have any problems taking out any of them, really. And so,
but this is where your social comes in. Like they should have talked to him ahead of time, and like, you know, or while they're doing it, and be like, you know, let me have this or whatever else.
Well, they did talk, and he's like, well, like, you know, like I'll take it if nobody ends up wanting it or whatever. Like he wants it. He wanted it.
So yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
But it
could be a messy week.
Does Tiffany do Claire versus Alyssa? She's not doing Claire versus Alyssa. There's no way she'll do that. I think she'll do Xavier and Alyssa. I mean, I could be wrong, but I just don't think that she would put up Claire right now. If she doesn't have to, I don't think she would do that.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh my God. Like that's just, she would lose that vote so hard. And then if she goes to the jury and then Claire just talks about how dirty she got done by Tiffany to Derek X, like I just think that it would tank her game for the people that were riding so hard for her.
She could lose. She could be more successful convincing the rest of the cookout to drop Derek F right now than to give up Claire, because she would lose, I think, at least a couple votes in the jury if she sent Claire there herself, because that's like you said, that's savage, that's like beyond, and no one else was put in that position, and I think she could use that as her argument that no one else was put in the position to directly send their two home, and so she shouldn't have to be either. So she could be like, next week go for it, but not on my week. And I think she's talk her way into many things, so you know, I think she could do that. That's the move if Alyssa wins veto.
I want to imagine like they just expecting her to put up Claire and like Derek X, take a seat. Oh, that would be so fun. And then who would go home? I guess Xavier would go home. Oh my gosh. Anyways, this could be an interesting week. It could be, just because of either it's going to be a moral dilemma or not. But like if it is the moral dilemma, it would be quite scary. So we'll try this again. Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you hanging out with us, and we'll see you Sunday for more Big Brother.